The miracle that forms the gospel text of today is known as the miracle of Jesus walking on the water, and is found in the Gospel of John, chapter 6, verses 16 to 21. Jesus has just fed 5,000 people with only 5 loaves and 2 fish, in which 12 baskets are gathered, in order to show the abundance of this miracle. Not only do 5,000 people have their fill, but there is so much left over. It is an indication of the magnanimity of God to each one of us. Jesus then goes up to the mountain because he does not want the approval of people, and the disciples go by themselves in a boat to cross to the other side. But because the disciples have not taken Jesus along, they are bound to be in trouble. And very clearly, almost immediately after they set out, they encounter a strong wind, and there is the danger that the boat might capsize. It is when they are in this frightened and agitated state that Jesus comes to them walking on the water and reveals himself to them as God with us. This is the story. What does it mean for us today? There are at least 3 levels of meaning which we can draw from this beautiful story. And the first is that Jesus, because he was God, had the ability which no human being had, that is, the ability to walk on the water. And so this is a miraculous event where Jesus reveals himself as God. A second interpretation is that the sea, the waters, were considered the abode of evil. Demons lurked under the waters. The fact that Jesus can walk on the water and not be sucked in and not be drowned is an indication that Jesus can subdue evil forces. Jesus will not be subsumed by evil. The third interpretation, however, seems to fit this text the best, in which we are told that when Jesus walks on the water, he is imitating God. Because very clearly in the Old Testament, human beings cannot walk on water. It is only God who has the power, who has the ability to walk on water. So by walking on water, Jesus is revealing himself as God. In the agitation and fear of the disciples, Jesus comes to them and reveals himself to them by the divine name, which in Greek is ego eimi, translated into English as I am. By revealing himself to the disciples as I am, Jesus is not only revealing himself to them as God, but also revealing himself to them as God who is in the present moment. This name is a very significant name because Jesus does not say I was, so he is not a God of the past. Jesus does not even say I will be, so he is not a God of the future, but he reveals himself as I am to indicate that he is the God of the present. As soon as the disciples become aware of the presence of Jesus, they find that the storm has ceased and that their boat, which was in danger of being capsized, has now reached safely to the shore. We are in the midst of very, very challenging times. Despite the discovery of a variety of vaccines, there are still more questions than there are answers. Are the vaccines as efficacious as they are made out to be? Will it affect us in some other way? Will we be prevented from contracting this dreaded disease now? These are questions, and these might be interpreted as the storm that we find ourselves in. In this storm, even as we are in our boats, some of us are very frightened. Some are even terrified because we really do not know what the next moment holds. Even as we are agitated and frightened, like Jesus came to the disciples, he will come to us, and he does come to us walking on the water and revealing himself to us, not as a God of the past, not even as a God of the future, but as a God of the present through these words, I am. In order to be able to encounter this God, in order to be able to experience this God, what we need to do is we need to give up the fear that paralyzes us. We need to be brave and courageous and strong, confident in the knowledge that our God is God with us, our God is God for us, our God in Jesus is I am.